Welcome to Audiobooksia, the world of books. Today I am reading Geronimo Stilton, Cripella von Cacklefur, The Phantom of the Theatre. Chapter beginning, No Time for Drama. It was a splendid September evening, and all the New Mouse City residents were ready to relax and let down their fur after a hard day at work. Everybody except yours truly. But wait. Pardon me. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stilton, Geronimo Stilton, and I ran the Rodents Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. It had been a hectic day, and I was as buried under my work as my lasagna gets buried under shredded cheese. Mountains of paper covered every corner of my desk. I was deciding what to do next. Should I rewrite an article or edit a feature or sift through my photographs? When my sister Thea walked into my office wearing an elegant evening gown. "Still working, Geronimo?" she asked, looking quite bright-eyed and bushy-footed. "I wanted to invite you to the theatre. Unfortunately, I'm up to my snout in work," I sighed. "What show are you going to see?" But before Thea could answer, my grandfather, William Shortpaws, barged into the room, screaming as usual, "It's the opera, grandson! Stop pretending to work and come with us!" he bellowed. I hadn't yet squeaked a word in reply when my grandfather scurried over to the window. "It's stuffier than a vampire's coffin in here," he grunted, opening the window. "No!" I tried to stop him, but it was too late. A gust of wind from the open window flew past me, and before I knew it, my organized piles of work swirled into the air and tumbled into one big mess on the floor. "You are too messy, grandson," said my grandfather, shaking his snout. I got up to close the window, but a flying shadow appeared through the evening darkness, and something grazed my whiskers. "Careful where you put your paws, Cheddarhead." It was Bitewing, the pet bat of my friend Cripella von Cacklefur. She is the most infamous writer in Mysterious Valley. In his claws, Bitewing was holding a tape recorder, which he flung at me. "Here you go. It's Cripella's newest novel," he screeched. Publish it immediately, you weak-whiskered rodent." And with that, he was off. Faster than a hungry cat chasing a mouse, I turned on the tape recorder. "Ah!" Out came a high-pitched shriek that pierced my eardrums and rattled my eyeglasses. I never heard such a high squeak, Thea said, lowering the paws from her ears. "But who can sing like that?" my grandfather wondered. The tape recorder emitted another sound, even higher pitched than the first one. Thea's paws went right back to her ears, but I smiled wider than my whiskers. "Thea, grandfather, sit back on your tails. You are about to listen to one of the most amazing adventures in Mysterious Valley. The Phantom of the Theatre. Story and illustrations by Cripella von Cacklefur." Chapter beginning. A voice from the past. Cripella von Cacklefur blotted her lips and gave one last glance to mirror. "Miss Cripella," the talking mirror declared, "your slug-stained number 5 lipstick really brings out the ghastly glow in your eyes." "Why, thank you, mirror," the mouse replied. She took a moment to admire her cheekbones, which were dusted with gravestone grey blush, and her eyelashes, elongated with terror and midnight blue mascara. While I am happy to be seen au naturel, I enjoy my deliciously dreadful makeup too much to be without it, she said. Now Cripella was ready for breakfast, and she bent to pick up the menu that the butler had left for her. Ron cackled for breakfast menu. Food, chalky and crunchy. Spoiled milk and tomato oatmeal stew. Pancakes with bruised bananas and larvae jam. Horned lizard egg frittata with side of home flies. Drinks, scrumptiously slimy. Smelly socks smoothie. Komodo dragon rules shake. Unlimited stagnant water. Since Chef Stewart started training for Top Chef Challenge at the dump, he has been preparing spectacularly disgusting dishes, Cripella said, hungrily licking her whiskers. She started to head down to the dining room, but on her way she realized something was very wrong. The portal on the stairs was not as dull as it usually was. The dust that Madame Latome, the housekeeper, took great care in layering on all the furniture each morning was missing. And if that wasn't enough, the table in the dining room wasn't set, and the youngest Von Cacklefur baby was crying furiously. Wah! Chef Stewart tried to comfort him by feeding him a spoonful of curdled cream, a wheat stew. Here you go, sweet abominable one. Open up for some stinky mush mush. But where is Madame Latome? Cripella asked. It was unusual for baby to cry without the housekeeper instantly hurrying over. She came downstairs with baby, but once she looked through the mail, her face turned paler than a block of feta, and she scurried off to her room, leaving me alone with the little one, Chef Stewart explained. Cripella was intrigued. She went back upstairs to look for Madame Latome. When she got to the housekeeper's room, she stuck her snout inside and saw Madame sitting at her vanity, not moving a whisker. Cripella cleared her throat and took a few steps into the room. As she got closer, she noticed that Madame Latome was clenching a card with a black border. Oh, hello, my dear. I didn't hear you, Madame said vacantly, not taking her eyes off the card in her paws. What's going on, Madame? Is something wrong? Cripella asked. Madame Latome shook her head, which sent Howler, the were canary who nested in her hair, flying with a grumble. Oh dear, said Madame, startled. It's such frightfully famous news that I have been in a daze. Here, read this, she said excitedly, handing Cripella the card. Cripella began reading the card aloud. Your Mousy Excellence is invited to the Royal Metropolitan Theatre to watch the macabre opera La Traviata, performed by the most superb, exceptional, moustastic singer, Violetta von Cacklefur. Chapter beginning. Another Von Cacklefur? Cripella leaped into the air and twirled around the room. Her whiskers trembled with anticipation. Violetta von Cacklefur, rotten ricotta. She is one of our most famous relatives and the best opera singer in the world. No one can sing high notes like Violetta. I'm so excited. I'm bursting out of my fur. Madame Latome squeaked. I've loved opera ever since I was a young mouselet. I even used to sing myself. Did you know that? When I read the invitation, my heart melted faster than brie on burnt toast. I still can't believe it. What's so special about her? Howler muttered, grumpy as usual. Creepella ignored him completely. This will be a wickedly wonderful mouse event that the whole family must see. Absolutely, Madame agreed. And perhaps we can even go backstage to say hello before she goes on. That's an excellent idea. Let's tell everyone, Creepella replied. In 2 shakes of a rat's tail, Madame was calling all the members of the family, and Creepella dashed away to call Geronimo. Hello, my little jerrykins. Get ready. I'm coming to pick you up. Creepella cackled into the phone as soon as he picked up. Ready? Ready for what? Who was squeaking? Geronimo asked. It was early and he hadn't quite woken up. Your beloved Creepella, of course. I'm changing our date plans for tonight. Date? We don't have date plans. Geronimo interrupted. We're just going to a movie, but no horror movies. Please, because... But Creepella took no notice. We are going to the darkest and most macabre opera house, the Royal Metropolitan Theatre. But why? And that's not all. Creepella said dramatically, raising the suspense. My whole family is coming. Arg! Geronimo blurted. The whole family! And what's wrong with that? Creepella asked in a tone that could freeze a pot of boiling fondue. Nothing. Nothing at all. All right then, I'm on my way, dressed to impress from ears to tail. We will be meeting the one and only Violetta von Cacklefur. Geronimo was so surprised that the phone almost slipped right out of his paws. Violetta von Cacklefur, another relative? How many mice are in your family? Oh, Jerry Berry, what a silly question. Go pick out something debonair. I'll be there soon. Chapter beginning. Diva in despair. The Von Cacklefur family gathered outside the Royal Metropolitan Theatre faster than a hungry ratling can eat a cheese baguette. While the show wouldn't start for a few hours, Madame Latome had arranged to get everyone inside through the back entrance. She guided them confidently to the theatre's maze of hallways. I know this theatre like the back of my paw, said Madame Latome, slowing down to take it all in. This feels like going back in time. You know, when I was young, I met Armando di Formaggio, the great grandson of the architect who designed the theatre. She said fondly. He was a true gentle mouse. She continued, her eyes glazing over like warm caramel on a cheesecake. A real rascal, Howler screeched, as skinny as a skeleton on a diet. Madame, we can scurry down memory lane later, Creepella said gently. But if we want to spend some time with Violetta... Yes, Madame said, picking up the pace. They turned a corner. Ah, here we are. The dressing room door was open, and the Von Cacklefurs could see Violetta lying on a chair. The family entered quietly on their tippy paws so they didn't startle her. My dear friend, Madame cried, rushing over to hold the singer's paw. Whatever is the matter? Violetta looked up and studied each member of the family she hadn't seen in ages. Then suddenly, she burst into tears. My friends, my dear relatives, My life is over. I am ruined. Chapter beginning. The Golden Box. The most famous singer in the world looked sadder than a mouse with an empty cheese plate. Her eyes were red, her voice was weak, and her paws were shaky. What's going on? Creepella asked, approaching the distraught singer. Violetta moaned and handed Madame Latome a golden box. Creepella glanced at its label. Rich dark chocolate, Toad Pelgrim truffles. No thank you, my dear, Madame answered, thinking Violetta was offering her a sweet. I had a huge bowl of stew for breakfast. Violetta shook her snout. It's all because of these little chocolates. I found them here in my dressing room, and I thought they were a gift from a fan. Everyone knows they are my favorites. I had one, and oh, what a disaster! Violetta cried, dropping her snout into her paws and beginning to weep again. What happened after you ate the chocolate? Creepella prodded. Violetta's tears streamed down her whiskers. Something terrible. My high notes, they've disappeared. Violetta gulped and took a deep breath. She opened her mouth wide. Croak! Everyone gasped. Yikes! Your voice! This is terrible! What a tragedy! Violetta won't cackle for needs her high notes, Madame Latome squeaked. An opera singer without a high notes is like an attic with no dust, or a sarcophagus with no mummy, Grandpa Frankenstein added, or a coffin with no corpse, Creepella's father, Boris von Cacklefur said, joining in. Oh, my stew with no stingy socks, Chef Stewart mused. That's enough, Creepella exclaimed, giving a scolding look to her family. We have to figure out who sent that box of chocolates to Violetta. Creepella declared, I smell a mystery. Geronimo had been keeping quiet, but Creepella's words compelled him to speak up. Not only do we have to figure out who they're from, dear Creepella, but also why they were sent. Why would someone play this terrible trick on Violetta? The singer looked at Geronimo with teary eyes. I don't know, she whimpered. In a corner of the dressing room, a black and gold wrapping paper that the chocolates came in was crumpled on the floor. Creepella's niece, Shivreen, picked it up and looked at it carefully. A moment later, she let out a squeal. Auntie, look at this. A card is stuck to the wrapping paper. Violetta looked over in confusion. I didn't notice anything. I was so eager to unwrap it that I just tossed the paper away. Creepella opened the card. Here are 2 words, she said, studying it. Ah, it's a name. What name? Geronimo asked. Creepella squinted as she tried to decipher the handwriting. Baritonio Blacksong. Violetta let out a blood-curdling scream that sounded like 100 tortured toads. Then, in a move worthy of a dramatic diva that she was, she put a paw to her forehead and fainted. Everyone was so captivated by her reaction that they clapped excitedly. How elegant! Grandma Crept squeaked. Such emotion! Madame Latome said breathlessly. Chapter beginning. A broken promise. Grandma Crept took a small bottle out of a spider-shaped purse. It's slimy swamp salts, she explained. The sting is strong enough to bring back mummies to life. She put the little bottle under Violetta's snout, and she revived instantly. Alas, this is all my fault, Violetta cried out as she came to. Creepella was beginning to get sick of the mouse's melodrama. Can you just tell us why already? She said, rolling her eyes. Violetta's tail drooped in despair. If I had read that name, I would never have eaten those chocolates. My sweet tooth will be my downfall, she moaned, her paws covering her face. The family couldn't take it any longer. Who is Baritonio Blacksong? They all shouted. Violetta began wringing her paws nervously. Finally, she gulped and took a deep breath. It's time I told the truth, no matter how dreadful it makes me look. I met Baritonio Blacksong many years ago. He is the legendary, mysterious and ghoulish phantom of the Royal Mousetropolitan Theatre. Madame Lantome's fur stood on end. The phantom really exists? Violetta explained. At that time, I was a promising young singer. I was good, but there were so many others. One day, Baritonio appeared in my dressing room and offered to teach me the secret to singing the highest notes. He was stern but very kind. Thanks to his secret lessons, I learned to reach notes higher than any other mouse, even higher than the great Lucia Pavarotti. Because of him, I got the lead role in Madame Ratafray. The singer paused and sighed. But on the opening night, I did something terrible, something unforgivable. Violetta fell silent. Madame Lantome went to comfort her. Come sit down, my dear. Take a deep breath. Violetta followed her friend's advice and continued her story. I had promised Baritonio that during the curtain call at the end of the show, I would reveal that he was my teacher and we would perform the duet from the opera, The Fur Dresser of Seville. But the mouse trailed off. But what? The family shouted in suspense. I forgot about it. Violetta burst out. I was so overwhelmed by the standing ovation from the audience, I took my bows and walked right off the stage. As soon as I was backstage, I saw Baritonio, as angry as a rat stung by 1,000 furious wasps. He had transformed from the kind phantom who had taught me everything I knew into a terrifying ghoul. He whipped out the secret contract I had signed. Then he shook his paw at me and swore he would have revenge. And that is why I never came back to Glumeria. Violetta looked up with tears in her eyes. I had hoped he would have forgotten about it by now, but I was wrong. Chapter beginning. Madame Lantome to the rescue. Violetta's sobs shook the whole room. The one cackle first didn't know what to do. Creepella studied Violetta, then nodded with determination. We have no choice, she said. We have to find the phantom before the show starts. Geronimo began to tremble immediately. We? Who's we? White cheddar cheeks, Creepella replied. You and me, of course. Faster than mold growing on an old blue cheese. Geronimo tried to flee the dressing room, but Snip and Snap, the troublemaking twins, tripped him. Ah! Geronimo let out a high squeak as he went flying. Nice tone, Grandma's crypt noted. Geronimo landed with a hard thud. He knew there was no getting out of helping Creepella. And what will we do after we find the phantom? He stammered as he got back to his paws. Elementary, my dear Stilton, Creepella cooed. We convinced him to forgive Violetta and give her back her voice. The other Von Cacklefurs chimed in with approval. Excellent idea. However, Geronimo wasn't convinced. He stood up, dusted off his jacket, and asked, Creepella, in the name of all things cheesy, do you have the slightest idea where Paritonio is hiding? Creepella looked at her furry friend with supreme confidence. Of course not. That's why we have to find him. Violetta interrupted them with his weak voice. The theater is huge. The basement alone is filled with closets and passageways. Sniff that no one but Baritonio knows about. Almost no one, squealed Madame Lato. Almost no one, screeched out. The Von Cacklefurs, Geronimo, and Violetta stared at the housekeeper with puzzled expressions. As I told you, I met Armando de Formaggio, the great-grandson of the architect of the theatre, Madame explained. Useless bag of bones, Howler muttered. One day he took me to what used to be his great-great-grandfather's office. The housekeeper went on. In an old trunk, he had found a map of the theatre, which we both studied. Violetta is right that the basement is a real maze, but I still remember where the entrance is, and I can lead you to it. Creepella wasted no time. She pushed Geronimo out the door, shouting, Shivreen, Bitewing, you're coming with us. The show is starting shortly. Let's scurry. However, Bitewing was already making himself comfortable, hanging upside down from the chandelier. I wanted to take a nap, he protested. Creepella threw the bat a gummy beetle, which he snapped right up. Bitewing flew to the door as he gulped down the treat. You've convinced me. Let's go. Chapter beginning. Trick or treat. The dressing rooms lined a long hallway that ended with a tiny door. It was painted the same color as the wall and had no knob. They wouldn't have noticed it at all if Madame Latome hadn't stopped and pointed to it. Here's the entrance to the basement. I'm sure of it. On the door was written, Step right in and use your snout, but once you're in, you can't come out. It's a line from one of my favorite operas, Rigoletto by Giuseppe Mausi. Madame Latome explained. Creepella pushed the door fiercely, but it didn't budge. Creepella thought aloud. There's no knob or lock. There has to be another mechanism to open the door. But what is it? Step right in and use your snout. But once you're in, you can come out. Madame Latome sang quietly. An eternity of fear awaits. Find the key, unlock your fate. Suddenly, the door clicked and popped open. The unlocking mechanism must be voice activated, Creepella exclaimed. By singing the lyrics, you crack the code. Creepella pushed open the door farther to discover a steep spiral staircase. She took a few steps and called back to the others. Careful, the steps are a little rotten. Shivreen and Madame Latome followed Creepella on light paws. As Geronimo trailed them, one of the steps gave out. His paw went straight through it. Ugh, a little rotten. The steps are completely rotten, he screeched, clambering to get free. Oh, hush, you scaredy mouse. Cripella said with a snort from the bottom of the stairs. She pulled out the flashlight that Grandpa Frankenstein had given her on her birthday. She turned it on and waved a spider-shaped beam of light around the area. They were in a small room, and in front of them was a big steel door covered with thick chains and a huge lock. The walls were draped with thick spider webs in beautifully intricate patterns. Madame Latome was mesmerized. Who could have woven these? She marveled. Cripella directed the flashlight to the corner of the room and revealed the answer. There was a huge, hairy spider sitting on top of a keyring. Its red eyes were scrutinized the newcomers. What an adorable little critter! Shivreen gushed. She approached the spider, holding her paw out toward it. Careful, better not to trust a strange spider, Cripella said. I have Kafka's cockroach crunchies in my pocket. Let's see if it likes them. She tossed one to the spider, who snatched it out of the air and gobbled it right up. Cripella then threw one crunchy after another across the room, each one a bit farther than the last. The enormous spider followed the treats, moving away from the corner little by little and leaving the keys exposed. As it munched another crunchy, Cripella shouted, Shivreen, now grab the keys. Her niece snatched up the keys, ran to the door and unlocked the bolt. All the mice rushed through it, leaving the well-fed spider behind them. Tra-la-la-la, riddle-dee-dee. Cripella aimed her flashlight in front of the group and illuminated a long, narrow, seemingly endless tunnel. Do we have to go there? Asked Geronimo. Most definitely, Cripella insisted. We can only go forward, she said, strutting down the tunnel. But why? Geronimo stammered. Cripella snorted. Cheesy pie, must I explain everything? Everyone knows that once you enter a dark tunnel like this, you can only go forward. Otherwise, you end up getting trapped. I learned this in my very first year of the acad. Thup! What was that? Shivreen asked. The fur face has fainted. Bite-wing snickered. Cripella knew just what to do. No need to panic. Luckily, Grandma Crypt gave me her bottle of slimy swamp salts. She swiftly pulled it out and waved it under Geronimo's nose. He came to so fast it was as if he'd been dumped into the frigid waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Instead of fear, a look of utter disgust had taken over his face. What is that horrific smell? He cried, furiously rubbing his snout with the back of his paw. Why, a delightedly dreadful perfume. Cripella replied while Shivreen, Madame Latome, and Howler nodded behind her in agreement. Geronimo walked quickly to get away from the stink. Finally, the long hallway ended in a large round room with a small blocked door. Cripella directed her light to the door and noticed a yellowed note stuck to it with a skull-shaped pen. The fearless mouse took it down and read, Musical riddles. Tra-la-la, diddle-dee-dee. Solve them all or never be free. Riddles? What if we can't figure them out? Geronimo said, whiskers trembling. We'll be stuck here forever. Don't worry your pretty little fur. His friend answered. "We can't have you faint a But it was too late. Geronimo had already collapsed. Creepella groaned. "We're out of smelling salts." "Don't worry, my dear," Madame Latombe said reassuringly. "Bitewing will take care of him." The housekeeper shot a stern glance at the bat. "In the meantime, we have to figure out these riddles." When Geronimo came to, he was shocked to find out that the riddles had been solved. But how? The mouse stuttered. "Jellyberry riddles are no match for me," said Creepella casually. "All we had to do was figure out the answers, say them in a loud voice to activate the unlocking mechanism. Because everything down here works through vocal commands. And the door opened. Piece or cheesecake?" She took a moment to give a smile of satisfaction. Musical riddles. 1. I have 88 keys, but there's no door I can open. What am I? 2. I'm an instrument that a skeleton might play. What am I? 3. I'm a type of band that doesn't play music. What am I? 5. I have strings you can't tie and a bow that is straight. What am I? 6. No one's scales are better than mine. What am I? 7. I'm an instrument you can hear but can't touch or see. What am I? 8. I'm a part of your head where you can play the best rhythms. What am I? 9. I am a phone that plays the best songs. What am I? Now let's shake a tail. I'm sure we're close to getting out of this maze. Embrace your doom. To Creepella's surprise, finding their way through the maze proved harder than finding a moldy cheese slice in a haystack. After many attempts, scurrying up and down the labyrinth of the passageways, the mice finally found their way to the other side of the theatre basement. Unfortunately, Baritonio was still nowhere to be found. "We'll never get out of here," Geronimo wailed. Instead, the mice found yet another locked door with another note attached to it with a skull-shaped pen. Creepella read the shaky handwriting. "One step from your tomb. Don't try to be brave. Embrace your doom. It's okay." Geronimo stared at the note. "Great chunks of cheddar. What in the name of string cheese? What does this mean?" Creepella told her tale thoughtfully. "I'm not sure yet, my handsome Hawati. Maybe it's another verse to a song," Shivreen suggested. "If we sing the next verse, we could trigger the unlocking mechanism, just like with the other doors." Madame Latombe began to nod her head sadly. "You're right. It's a song from Ratcito Domingo's least successful opera, Mouse of La Nacho. It's about a mouse who eats nachos he knows are poisonous, but he can't stop himself. Whoever wrote this note is an expert. I can't remember how the rest of this song goes." "Try, madame, try," pleaded Geronimo, "or else we'll never get out of here." The shopkeeper closed her eyes and tried to will the words into her brain, but nothing would come. "Now, what do we do?" Geronimo stammered, starting to sway. "Don't faint," Creepella shouted. "Maybe we could think of a word that rhymes with brave to help Madame remember the words to the next line," suggested Shivreen. "It's a mouse-tastic idea," Creepella replied. "Let's think. Wave rhymes with brave. Cave, pave, rave," Geronimo offered. "Shave, crave, Shivering tried. The mice were interrupted when Howler jetted out of Madame Latome's hair. You three are terribly amusing, the Were Canary said with a chilly shrill. Too bad you could fit Mount Rat-Everest between you and the solution. Everyone stared at him, annoyed but hopeful. Does that mean you know what comes next? Geronimo asked urgently. But of course, I know every verse in every song of every opera. There is no better singer than me, not even Violetta One Cackleson. Now it was Madame Latome's turn to jump in. For Gouda's sake, Howler, don't be rude and stop wasting time. She said reproachfully, if you know the song, sing it at once. Howler glared at Madame for a moment, grumbling quietly. Then he took a deep breath, puffed out his chest and howled. One step from your tomb. Don't try to be brave. Embrace your doom. You can't avoid your grave. Ghouls and goblins will soon start to arrive to haunt your coffin. You won't come out alive. And as slowly as a mouse savors his last piece of cheese, the door creaked open. Revenge, sweet revenge. A large room with an enormous bed and a wardrobe piled high with clothes and accessories awaited Creepella and company. Inside the wardrobe, hundreds of beautiful dresses hung on the racks. These are all the stage costumes, Madame exclaimed. This is from the Jealous Coffin Maker, starring Cordelia Callis, and this is from Mozart's The Macabre Flute. How mouse! Creepella exclaimed. I love the little embroidered bats on this one. In one corner was a gramophone and piles of dusty old records. Madame stooped down to take a closer look. This really is an enviable collection, she noted. On a round table next to the records, Shivreen found a big red book. She leafed through it and saw pages and pages of pictures and articles about Violetta. Someone had compiled all the clippings about the singer from the last few years. Look what I found, Auntie. One of Violetta's biggest admirers must live here, she said, holding up the book. You may be right. Or perhaps this rodent has become an ex-admirer. Creepella pondered. Congratulations, boomed an unfamiliar voice. Baritonio Black Song appeared in front of the bookcase and took a bow. No mouse has ever managed to get this far. You solved all my tricky puzzles. You deserve a special prize. His words were kind, but the mice felt shivers down their tails. Creepella proceeded with caution. We don't want a prize. What we want is for you to give back Violetta's high notes. Black Song's nose wrinkled, and then he took a letter out of his pocket and handed it to Creepella with a strange look. This is the promise that Violetta made to me many years ago. You can still smell her rotten violet perfume in it. Read it and you will understand. Creepella didn't move a whisker, so Geronimo took the letter instead. No, don't, Creepella said, eyeing the letter suspiciously. However, Geronimo was more curious than a cat. Then he immediately read the letter. Actually, listen to this, Geronimo said. The phantom is not completely wrong for being angry. Geronimo read loud the agreement signed and written by Violetta. Without the phantom Baritonio Black Song, I would never have been able to sing the highest notes of any mouse. I swear that tonight I will tell the world about his generosity about singing the duet from. As the mouse continued, Creepella noticed That Black Song's grin was growing. Jennykins, stop! Stop reading! Don't you see? She yelled. But it was too late. The fur dresser of Seville. Geronimo finished. No! Cripella cried. The floor beneath them opened up. A trapdoor swung down, sending the mice falling. They landed on the floor of a cold, dark cell with a loud and painful crash. Do you have mold for brains? Howler shouted. By reading the letter, you have activated the voice command for the trapdoor. Up above, they heard the phantom cackling. Revenge, sweet, sweet revenge. I will never forgive that ungrateful mouse. Tonight she will learn the lesson she deserves. A captive audience. Everything hurts, Geronimo moaned. Even my whiskers hurt. But with one glance from Cripella, he shut his mouth. This was the least of their problems. They were in an underground prison where no mouse would ever want to set paw. This is what happens when you stick your snout in someone else's business. Baritonio called down to them. Now there's nothing stopping my revenge plan. In a few minutes, Violetta will step on stage and give the worst performance of her life, and you will be my honored guests for it. Cripella sneered. And how will we be able to see anything from down here? She said with a defiant look. Look to your right, the phantom replied. Open that little window and you will have your answer. Cripella did as instructed, and cold air filled their little cell. What is it? Shivleen asked as she put her paw through the ceiling. It's a tube that connects directly to the stage, Baritonio explained. Don't even think about escaping through it. It's much too small. But you will be able to hear what happens about perfectly. I used to feed lights to the ungrateful Violetta when she forgot them. Even that opening night, I reminded her of her promise. But the applause apparently made mold grow in her ears. Madame Lartome tried to defend her friend. But she has always been sorry. She wants to make up for what she did to you. Baritonio grunted. You must be joking. The only thing she cares about is forever sounding like a what-eat toad. I can't wait to hear her croak. Ha 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 ha. The chill in Baritonio's laughter could have frozen even the glaciers in the mountains of the Mangiati. But the chanting in the audience in the theatre silenced it. Violetta, Violetta, we want Violetta. Baritonio's ears twitched. Now I must leave you. Your friend is coming on stage. I don't want to miss a moment. Ha 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 ha. The phantom closed the trapdoor and the darkness filled the cell. But despite the despair of their current situation, the friends had only one thought. Poor Violetta. The show must go on. Meanwhile, back in Violetta's dressing room, the other Von Cacklefurs were getting nervous. Where can they be? Grandma Crypt repeated for the 100th time. They should have found him by now. Grandpa Frankenstein exclaimed. Baritonio has probably captured them, and it's all my fault. Violetta bawled, but without her high notes, her sobs sounded like vomiting toads. Snip and Snap, who had gotten hold of the chocolates when no one was looking, had eaten 3 each, and now they too were croaking. Enough, cried Boris von Cacklefur. It's louder than a swarm full of toads at an all the flies you can eat buffet. Be quiet, or I'll tie your tails together. Then someone knocked on the dressing room door. It was the theatre director coming to get Violetta. The theatre is packed, he announced, his paws shaking. Every seat is filled, from the orchestra to the balconies. All of Lumeria is here to see the great Violetta. We absolutely cannot wait any longer. The Von Cacklefors tried to convince the director to stall for a few more minutes, but it was no use. If we don't start immediately, the audience will riot. It will be a catastrophe. Violetta stood up slowly, as if she were carrying a heavy gravestone on her back. The director is right. I can't keep the audience waiting any longer. But what will you do without your high notes? Asked a worried Grandma Crypt. Instead of replying, Violetta slunk out the dressing room door. Grandma Crypt shot glances at the others, and they all followed her. When the family realized she was heading towards the stage, they nervously went to take their seats in the audience. Every mouse in Lumeria really did seem to be at the show. In the second row, the entire Rottenbaum family sat smugly. Grandpa Frankenstein stiffened when his eyes locked with Shamely Rattenbaum. Those moldy sewer rats can't wait to see one of the Von Cacklefors make a fool of herself, Grandma whispered. Grandma Crypt shifted in her seat and sighed. I just wish I knew where they were. A loud round of applause broke into her thoughts, and the curtain lifted, revealing Violetta center stage. Violetta had the attention of every mouse in the theatre, including one hidden from view. Behind a heavy curtain, on the farthest corner of the stage, Baritonio was watching the singer, as still as a corpse. The last lock. Great cheese balls of fire. We have to get out of here. Cripella fumed, examining the walls with a pause for the millionth time to try to find an opening. We've searched every nook and cranny of this cell, my dear Cripella, Geronimo said, trying to soothe her. There is nothing left we can do. Howler and Biting agreed. They had tried to fly through the tunnel that led to the stage, but a net blocked their way, and they had to come back. Then Cripella, Geronimo, Madame Latome and Shiveline had tried to climb on top of one another to reach the trapdoor in the ceiling, but it was too high and too tightly closed. They might as well had their paws tied behind their backs. Violetta was about to making a laughing stock of herself in front of all the rodents in Lumeria, and they couldn't help at all. The audience's hundreds of applause alerted them that the singer had reached the stage. What will she do? Shiveline squeaked. I can't bear to listen, Madame Latome said, shutting her eyes tight and covering her paws with her ears. The applause died down and was replaced with an eerie silence. The orchestra started to play, and Violetta's melodious voice filled the air. Sing again, sing once again with me, my perfect brat. The squeals will keep away those evil cats. And the moon shines tonight, with song we'll fight. Suddenly, Madame Latome's eyes flashed open. It's time! The high note is coming, she said, gripping her tail. The high note, however, never came. Violetta was so anxious that she fainted right on the stage. Thump! Cripella and the others strained their ears and heard her being picked up and carried back to her dressing room. When several minutes had passed and the singer didn't return to the stage, the audience started to boo. Boo! We want our money back. Violetta is a phony. Oh, poor Violetta, Madame Latome cried. She's doomed. The Were Canary stalked out of his hair nest with a spiteful look. Well, I can't say she didn't deserve it. She made a mistake, Shivrin said thoughtfully. But Baritonio could have forgiven her by now. It's been such a long time. Geronimo shook his snout in agreement. You're right. I've never met a mouse who's acted so heartlessly. Even a ghost. He paused. But he must have a heart deep inside. It's just locked away. On hearing those words, Creepella yelled, You're a genius, Jerry Cakes. Baritonio's heart is just locked away. To make him open up and feel again, we have to find the right song. We can fix this. Fix this, fix this, fix this. Bite Wing squeaked. Geronimo looked at Creepella in confusion. But how? Creepella smiled. Didn't you hear what the Phantom said? He said he used to whisper lines to Violetta when she forgot the words on stage. So, prodded Geronimo. So, that means the tunnel carries us out from here to the stage. All we have to do is sing a song that will remind Baritonio of how he loved singing with Violetta, and he'll forgive her. I wish I could help, but I'm as stone deaf as a cat's yowl. Geronimo said, You'd have better luck with a clanging bell. Creepella smirked. I'm not counting on either of us to save the day this time. A song for Baritonio. Back on stage, the theatre director was trying to calm the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemice, I am pleased to announce that in tonight's opera, Violetta von Kleckenfur will be replaced by the mezzo-soprano Viola B. Flatford, fresh off her debut at Wrong Note Theatre. Ah! He ducked to avoid a bunch of rancid broccoli hurtling toward the stage, which was quickly followed by moldy cauliflowers and mushy, rotten tomatoes. Seizing the opportunity, Chef Durant rushed to the stage to pick up the food. So many delicious ingredients for my stew, he said with glee. The rest of the audience was furious. They were so upset it took a few minutes for them to hear the melody coming from the theatre's basement. Then slowly, one after another, they were captivated by Madame Latour's voice. The Von Kleckenfur's housekeeper had picked up an emotional song to reach the heart of the mouse, holding her dear friend's voice hostage. Sorry, Rotten Heart, from the opera Don Bratovan. My truly dreadful friend, she hides away in fear, silent much too long. For all these moldy years, many moons have passed. She sung too many songs, but now it's time for her to right her many wrongs. As Madame read the last notes of her verse, trailed off, a heavy silence filled the air. Then suddenly, a row of applause filled the theatre. The audience was on its feet, cheering for the mysterious voice. Down in the prison cell, Baritonio Blacksong appeared out of nowhere and knelt in front of Madame Latour. My dear Madame, what a haunting voice, he bellowed, grabbing the housekeeper's paws between his own. What a sublime interpretation. It has been decades since I've heard singing like this. I had forgotten how moving a song could be. I bow to such a great artist. Howler peeked his head out of his mistress's hair. I taught her everything she knows. The Phantom blew his nose with an invisible handkerchief before blubbering. I would do anything for you, Madame. Madame Latour smiled so wide, even her whiskers turned her. This was the moment they had been waiting for. All I ask is that my friend Violetta get her high notes back, she said decidedly. Anticipating Baritonio's resistance, Creepella hurried to add, She's very sorry for what she did to you. The prisoners held their breaths as they watched Baritonio tremble with emotion. No one moved a whisker. All right, let's go to her, she replied. Save the soprano. Baritonio led the small group through a shortcut that only he knew. This theater is really incredible. Geronimo gushed, invigorated by his freedom. They should organize some guided tours. You like it now that you know you're not trapped here forever, you scaredy rat? Howler teased. Madame pushed the candy back into her hair with a small but forceful shove. On the other side of the theatre, the rest of the Von Cacklefur family surrounded Violetta as she laid on her sofa, hiding under her blanket. Oh, what a disaster! What a disaster! She moaned. The family was starting to think that Violetta would never recover, when Creepella and the others came bursting into the room. They were even more surprised when the phantom Baritonio dashed past them all to kneel by Violetta's side. Does this ghost do anything but kneel down? Shivreen wondered. Another softy, Bitewing concluded. Oh dear Violetta, please forgive me, Baritonio pleaded. Baritonio? Violetta whispered. She couldn't believe it. Oh, please forgive me, she begged, touching her heart with her paw. Madame sighed. What a disgustingly moving moment, she said, dabbing away tears. Out in the main theatre, the audience was not sharing in any tender moments. They were still demanding a show. Baritonio handed Violetta a small box. Take 2 chocolate-covered toad squads and you'll get your high notes back, my dear. Violetta nervously ate the candy. Then she took a deep breath and sang a high C. Violetta nervously ate the candy. Sorry, it worked! Creepella exclaimed. Violetta can sing again. The show can be saved. The singer smiled. It can, but not by me alone. 2 friends will have to sing with me. Happily gloomy ever after. Encore! 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 When Violetta, Baritonio and Madame Latome took the stage, the audience wasn't sure what to expect. But from the trio's first notes squealed in perfectly gruesome harmony, they were mesmerized. With each new song, the singers transported the audience further into a terrifically dark and dreary paradise. This is the most horrifically famous show I've ever seen, Geronimo whispered. He, like everyone else, had practically clapped the fur off his paws. Every time the singers tried to leave the stage, the audience stomped and squealed until they were forced to come back on stage with another song. After 10 encores, the show finally ended because the crowd was forced from cheering. After the show, it was almost impossible to get into Violetta's dressing room. Bouquets of rotten flowers were piled high along every wall. The singer could not stop thanking her family and friends. Without you, my career, my life would be over, she gushed. And now I have some exciting news, she continued. Lumiere witnessed the incredible Baritonio Black song tonight. It would be a great loss if his voice was not heard again. And since singing with him has made me so happy, we have decided to go on a world tour together. The Phantom finished. Hooray! The Phantom finished. Hooray! The room full of mice cheered. With so much to celebrate, it was a long night. It was very, very late when the Von Cacklefurs finally made their way home. I'm going to put baby to bed, Madame Latome announced. Good night, miss everyone. Madame, Geronimo called out. Why don't you join the tour with Violetta and Baritonio? You're a stupendous trio. The housekeeper looked lovingly around him. No, she replied while giving baby, a tight squeeze. I have everything I need right here at Cackleford Castle. I couldn't imagine being this happily gloomy anywhere else. The end. The world tour. On the tape recorder, Kripala's voice faded away and was replaced with background static. I had been in a dream state, listening to her describe that thrilling night at the Royal Metropolitan Theatre. The crackling sound snapped me back to my office in New Mouse. Grandfather William and Thea were pumped up. Geronimo, this story had me on the edge of my seat. It's a true pop item. My sister declared. Publish it immediately. Yes, you must, my grandfather concurred. You're a huge scaredy mouse in the story, but I was about to squeak that I'd like to see how he would have reacted in my place when Kripala's shrill voice chirped back out of the tape recorder. Well, Furhart, I'm sure you're already thinking about when you can publish this gripping story, but it'll have to wait a few days. Tomorrow, Violetta and Baritonio are kicking off their world tour, the Phantom of the Theatre, at the Royal Metropolitan Theatre, and they are counting on you to be there. Invite whomever you wish and get here right away. A click signaled at the end of the tape. Well, grandfather bellowed, what are you waiting for? You heard her. We better get going. He was right. Violetta's and Baritonio's voices had haunted me ever since that night, and I couldn't wait to hear them again. Once the performance was over, I would publish Kripala's book straight away. I knew we had another bestseller on our paws, because there's no better suspense writer in Mysterious Valley than Kripala von Cackleford. The end, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the book, and I would like to say one thing. First of all, thank you for listening. Second of all, I do not own this book. I am not the publisher nor the writer. All rights are given to Elizabeth Adami. I do not own the book. Thank you, and stay tuned for more.